The improbable inventor. The quantum lab hummed with an unusual frequency that made the security guards' teeth itch. They'd gotten used to strange sounds coming from Dr. Maya Patel's workspace, but this one was different. Inside, the 16-year-old prodigy stood before a floating sphere of pure sound, her dark eyes reflecting the impossibly stable acoustic bubble that defied every known law of physics. "It's not supposed to work," she whispered, reaching out to touch the sphere. The sound waves parted around her finger like water, creating complex interference patterns that spiral through the air. "But it does." Dr. James Chen, her mentor and head of the Earth Defense Initiative's Quantum Physics Division, stared at the readings on his tablet. "Maya, these measurements, they're completely impossible. Sound waves don't behave like this. They can't maintain cohesion in a vacuum, let alone generate gravitational distortions." "Impossible according to whose physics?" Maya asked, not taking her eyes off the sphere. "The Confederation's. They're so convinced their understanding of the universe is complete that they've stopped looking for alternatives." The alien Confederation had made first contact 3 years ago, and their attitude toward humanity had been clear from the start. Earth was primitive, barely worth acknowledging. Our technology was quaint, our scientific understanding elementary. They'd established an observation post in lunar orbit to monitor our development, but everyone knew it was really there to ensure we didn't advance too quickly for their comfort. Maya had other plans. "Look at this," she said, adjusting the frequency controls. The sphere compressed, then expanded, creating a localized gravity well that made loose objects in the lab float. "Sound is just vibration, right? But vibration is energy, and energy affects space-time. The Confederation uses massive amounts of power to generate artificial gravity fields. We're doing it with acoustic resonance." Dr. Chen shook his head in amazement. "They'll never see it coming. They're so focused on their energy-based technology that they've completely overlooked mechanical solutions. That's their weakness," Maya said, powering down the sphere. "They think technology only advances in one direction. But humanity, we try everything. We experiment, we make mistakes, and learn from them. And sometimes," she gestured at her invention, "sometimes we find paths they never imagined existed." The next morning, Maya stood before the Earth Defense Council, her project files displayed on the massive holoscreen behind her. The council members, representing every major nation on Earth, listened intently as she explained her discovery. "The Confederation's ships use quantum field generators to manipulate gravity," she explained. "They're incredibly powerful, but they're also predictable. They can only work within the framework of their understanding of physics. But sound is different. It's primal. It exists in every medium, even space itself. We've just never thought to use it this way before." Admiral Sarah Hayes leaned forward. "You're suggesting we could build ships using this technology? Ships that could match the Confederation's capabilities?" Maya's expression turned serious. "No, Admiral. I'm suggesting we could build ships that surpass them." She brought up a new diagram, showing her proposed vessel design. "I call it the Soundweaver. It uses a network of acoustic resonators to generate overlapping fields of sound waves. These waves don't just manipulate gravity. They can affect the fundamental frequency of space-time itself. The Confederation's ships push against the universe. Ours will sing with it." The council chamber erupted in discussion. Maya stood quietly, watching them debate the implications of her discovery. She knew what some of them were thinking, that she was too young, that the project was too risky, that antagonizing the Confederation was dangerous. They didn't understand. The Confederation's dismissal of humanity wasn't just insulting. It was dangerous. They saw Earth as a curiosity, a primitive world to be studied and contained. But humanity had something they'd lost long ago, the ability to think beyond established limits. As the council debated, Maya's tablet lit up with an alert from her lab. The acoustic sphere had started resonating on its own, responding to some unknown stimulus. She checked the readings and felt her heart skip a beat. The Confederation's observation post was scanning Earth with new frequencies, frequencies that matched the harmonic patterns she'd discovered. They knew something was happening. They just didn't know what. Maya cleared her throat, silencing the Council's discussion. "We don't have much time," she said, bringing up the scanned data. "The Confederation is already detecting anomalies from our tests. They'll figure it out eventually. But right now, we have an advantage they don't even know exists." Admiral Hayes studied the data, then looked at Maya with new respect. "How long to build a prototype?" 3 months, Maya said confidently. "We already have the core technology working. We just need to scale it up." "The Confederation monitors all major construction projects," another council member objected. "They'll notice if we start building a new ship." Maya smiled. "Not if the ship we're building doesn't look like a ship to their sensors. Remember, they're looking for energy signatures, quantum fields, radiation patterns. Our acoustic technology is invisible to their detection methods. They literally can't see what they don't understand." The council voted unanimously to approve the project. As Maya left the chamber, Dr. Chen fell into step beside her. 3 months is optimistic," he said quietly. "It has to be," Maya replied. "The Confederation's getting suspicious. Did you see the latest reports? They're increasing their patrol frequency, adding new scanning equipment to their observation post. They know something's changing on Earth. They just haven't figured out what yet." She paused at a window, looking up at the night sky, where the Confederation's ships glinted like cold stars. "They think they know everything there is to know about the universe. That's why they'll never expect us to discover something they missed." In her lab, the acoustic sphere pulsed with new patterns, its harmonics spreading through the quantum foam of space itself. Soon, those harmonics would power humanity's first true starship, and when the Confederation finally realized what was happening, it would be too late. The age of sound was about to begin. Soundweaver. Deep beneath the Atacama Desert, in a cavern carved by sound waves, the Soundweaver took shape. Maya stood on a suspended platform, watching as acoustic resonators carefully positioned hull plates that seemed to flicker between dimensions. The ship wasn't just being built, it was being tuned, each component calibrated to vibrate at precisely the right frequency. "Status report," Admiral Hayes asked, her voice echoing slightly in the vast underground space. "The harmonic matrix is stable," Maya replied, checking her readings. "We've achieved quantum resonance across 87% of the hull structure. The sound waves are actually strengthening the molecular bonds of the materials. It's like," she searched for the right words, "like teaching the metal to sing." Above them, the Soundweaver's hull rippled with patterns of standing waves, visible as subtle distortions in the air. Unlike the brutal angles and harsh lines of Confederation vessels, this ship was organic, its shape determined by the natural flow of acoustic energy. It looked less like a warship and more like a musical instrument scaled up to impossible proportions. Dr. Chen approached with a concerned expression. "Maya, we're detecting increased scanning activity from the lunar observation post. They've added new frequencies to their sweep pattern." "Let them scan," Maya said confidently. "All they'll see is background noise. The acoustic camouflage system is working perfectly. To their instruments, this entire facility looks like a natural cavity in the Earth's crust." But she knew they were running out of time. The Confederation wasn't stupid, just arrogant. Eventually, they'd noticed that their scans were being returned too perfectly, that the natural readings were too consistent. The key was to finish the Soundweaver before they realized what was happening. A sudden alert drew their attention. One of the resonators had detected an anomaly in the quantum field surrounding Earth. Maya rushed to the control console, her fingers dancing across the holographic displays. "They're changing their scanning methodology. They're not just looking for energy signatures anymore. They're analyzing wave patterns in the quantum foam itself." "Can they detect us?" Hayes asked sharply. Maya shook her head, but her expression was grim. "Not yet, but they're getting closer. They know something's different about Earth's quantum signature. The acoustic fields we're generating are changing the background resonance of space-time itself. How much longer do you need? Maya studied the construction progress. The Soundweaver was nearly complete, its hull humming with contained power. But the real challenge wasn't building the ship, it was teaching it to sing. 2 weeks, she said finally. The hardware is almost ready, but we need to fine-tune the acoustic matrix. This isn't just about generating the right frequencies, it's about teaching the ship to adapt, to respond to changes in the quantum field around it. It needs to learn how to improvise. Hayes raised an eyebrow. You're making it sound like the ship is alive. In a way, it is, Maya explained, walking along the observation platform. Traditional ships, even Confederation vessels, are just machines. They follow programmed patterns, execute specific commands. But the Soundweaver, it's more like an instrument. It responds to the music of the universe itself. She gestured at the rippling hull. Look at how it moves. Those aren't just random vibrations. The ship is actually reacting to quantum fluctuations in real time, adjusting its harmonic frequency to match. It's learning, growing, becoming more attuned to the fundamental rhythms of space-time. Dr. Chen joined them, his tablet displaying new data from their quantum sensors. The Confederation's latest scan patterns suggest they're starting to think along similar lines. They're looking for wavelength anomalies, harmonic distortions. They still don't understand what they're seeing, but they know something's changed. Good, Maya said, surprising them both. Let them look. Let them wonder. By the time they figure it out, we'll be ready to show them exactly what humanity can do when we're underestimated. She turned to Hayes. Admiral, I need authorization to begin the final phase of construction. We're going to power up the main acoustic drive. Hayes hesitated. The noise will be contained, Maya assured her. The resonance chamber is designed to channel all acoustic energy inward. To the outside world, this facility will remain silent. But inside, she smiled. Inside, we're about to hear the first notes of a whole new kind of space travel. The Admiral nodded, and Maya began the power-up sequence. The Soundweaver's resonators activated one by one, each adding its voice to a growing chorus of quantum harmonies. The ship's hull began to pulse with patterns of light and shadow, its surface seeming to phase in and out of normal space-time. Beautiful, Dr. Chen whispered, watching as waves of acoustic energy flowed through the vessel like blood through veins. It's actually manipulating quantum fields through pure sound. Maya monitored the readings carefully. The ship was performing better than she'd hoped, its acoustic matrix already showing signs of self-optimization. It was learning to sing in perfect harmony with the universe itself. But even as they celebrated this milestone, new alerts flashed across their screens. The Confederation's observation post had just launched a series of small probes, each equipped with advanced quantum sensors. They were done with passive observation. Now they were actively searching for the source of the anomalies they detected. Maya watched the probe deployment data with grim satisfaction. They're looking in the wrong place, she said softly. They're searching the upper atmosphere, the orbital lanes, anywhere they'd expect to find conventional technology. They'll never think to look for a ship that sings. The Soundweaver's hull resonated with a deep, almost musical tone, as if in agreement. Soon, very soon, the Confederation would learn that they weren't the only ones who could shape the fabric of space itself. And when that lesson came, it would be accompanied by a symphony they'd never forget. The Symphony of War. The Confederation's ultimatum arrived at dawn. Their message was transmitted simultaneously to every communication device on Earth. Your species has violated observation protocols by developing unauthorized quantum manipulation technology. Surrender your research immediately or face immediate defensive action. In the Soundweaver's control center, Maya watched the massive holographic display as Confederation warships emerged from hyperspace. 12 vessels, each larger than anything humanity had ever built, arranged themselves in a precise geometric pattern around Earth. They still think we're working with conventional quantum tech, she said, her fingers moving across the acoustic control interface. The interface itself was unique. Instead of buttons and switches, it responded to gesture and motion, like conducting an invisible orchestra. They've positioned themselves to create a quantum containment field, standard procedure for dealing with primitive species who stumble onto advanced physics. Admiral Hayes stood beside her, watching as more ships joined the Confederation fleet. How many can the Soundweaver handle? Maya's response was interrupted by Dr. Chen's urgent call. They're powering up their main weapons. Energy signatures off the charts. Let them come, Maya said calmly, though her heart was racing. The Soundweaver is ready. We've been running silent, but now. She raised her hands, and the ship's acoustic matrix hummed to life. Now it's time to show them what music can do. The Soundweaver rose from its underground berth, sound waves reshaping the earth above it into a perfect launch tunnel. As it emerged into the open air, the ship was already singing, a complex harmony of quantum frequencies that made conventional sensors go haywire. On the Confederation flagship, High Commander Vexthal watched in confusion as his quantum scanners failed to provide any coherent reading of the human vessel. Impossible, he muttered, his crystalline form shifting with agitation. Their technology is primitive. They cannot have developed stealth capabilities that surpass our own. The first shots from the Confederation fleet were meant to disable, not destroy. Beams of concentrated quantum energy lanced toward the Soundweaver and passed straight through it, as if the ship wasn't there at all. Maya's hands danced through the control field, conducting the ship's response. They're using quantum-locked energy weapons, she explained as the Soundweaver effortlessly evaded another barrage. But sound doesn't care about quantum locks. We're not just dodging their attacks. We're phase-shifting between the frequencies of their weapons. The Soundweaver's hull rippled with waves of acoustic energy, each pattern more complex than the last. The ship wasn't just responding to attacks. It was learning, adapting, composing its own symphony of defense and counterattack. Now, Maya said softly, let's show them what happens when you underestimate humanity. She brought her hands together in a sharp gesture, and the Soundweaver released its first offensive harmonic, a wave of pure sound, precisely tuned to the resonant frequency of Confederation shield technology, swept through space. 6 enemy ships suddenly found their defensive barriers not just failing, but actively collapsing. Impossible. Vexthal's crystalline form vibrated with shock. They're using acoustic weapons in space. The very concept violated everything the Confederation knew about physics. Sound couldn't propagate in a vacuum. Except the Soundweaver wasn't propagating sound through space. It was using sound to manipulate space itself. Maya's next gesture sent the Soundweaver into a complex maneuver that seemed to bend reality around it. The ship's acoustic drive wasn't just providing propulsion. It was creating localized fields of altered spacetime, allowing it to move in ways that Confederation targeting systems couldn't predict. Their weapons are quantum-locked, Maya explained to Hayes as they watched another volley of enemy fire miss completely. They can only operate on specific frequencies they understand. But sound is infinite. There are always more frequencies, more harmonics, more ways to make the universe dance. The Confederation fleet regrouped, attempting to establish a new attack pattern. But the Soundweaver was already changing its acoustic signature, shifting through quantum states faster than their sensors could track. It was like trying to target a song. The moment you thought you had it, it changed key. Final warning. Vexthal's transmission boomed across all frequencies. Surrender your vessel and technologies, or we will be forced to take more dramatic action. Maya's response was to initiate what she called the Symphony Protocol. The Soundweaver's acoustic matrix reached its full potential, generating a cascading series of harmonic waves that rippled through the quantum fabric of space itself. Each wave was precisely calculated to interact with Confederation technology in ways their scientists had never imagined possible. First, their quantum communications network went dark, the carefully maintained field disrupted by unexpected resonances. Then their targeting systems began to fail, unable to lock onto a ship that existed in multiple harmonic states simultaneously. Finally, their much-vaunted quantum drives started to desynchronize, leaving the mighty warships adrift in space, their own technology turned against them by frequencies they couldn't even detect. How? Vexthul demanded, his transmission barely cutting through the acoustic interference. This defies all known laws of physics. That's humanity's secret, Maya transmitted back, allowing a touch of pride to enter her voice. We don't accept laws as unchangeable. We question. We experiment. We find new ways to sing old songs. The Soundweaver moved through the disabled Confederation fleet like a conductor through an orchestra, its acoustic fields maintaining perfect control over the space around it. It hadn't fired a single conventional weapon, hadn't caused any actual damage to the enemy vessels. It had simply shown them that their understanding of the universe was far from complete. As the last Confederation ship fell silent, its quantum systems completely overwhelmed by harmonic interference, Maya finally allowed herself to relax slightly. "Admiral," she said, turning to Hayes, "I believe the Confederation might be ready to begin new diplomatic discussions. This time, perhaps, as equals." The Soundweaver hung in space, its hull still rippling with waves of acoustic energy, a testament to humanity's ability to find music in the mathematics of the universe itself. The symphony of war was over, but a new composition was just beginning. Paradigm shift. The Grand Assembly Chamber of the Confederation had never been so quiet. Representatives from 300 advanced civilizations sat in stunned silence as they watched the battle footage for the 20th time. On the massive quantum display, the human vessel, the Soundweaver, danced through their fleet's defenses as if they weren't there, its acoustic fields rendering their most advanced weapons useless. High Commander Vexthul stood before them, his crystalline form still showing signs of stress fractures from the harmonic exposure. "The humans have discovered something we never thought possible," he admitted, each word clearly painful. "They aren't using quantum manipulation as we understand it. They're using music." The chamber erupted in confused discussions. A representative from the Marian Collective, their bioorganic form pulsing with agitation, rose to speak. "Music? In space? This is absurd. Sound cannot propagate in a vacuum. This must be some trick, some primitive attempt to deceive us." That's exactly the kind of thinking that led to this situation. Maya's voice rang out as she entered the chamber, accompanied by Admiral Hayes and Dr. Chen. The human delegation had been summoned to explain their technology, though few expected the explanation to come from someone so young. Maya walked to the center of the chamber, her footsteps echoing in the suddenly silent space. "You're right. Sound can't propagate through a vacuum in the conventional way. But we're not using sound to move through space. We're using it to move space itself." She gestured, and a holographic display materialized, showing the complex wave patterns generated by the Soundweaver. Every particle, every field, every aspect of reality has a resonant frequency. You've known this for centuries, but you only thought to use it in one way, through brute force quantum manipulation. We found another path. The Arxian Mind Collective, their quantum processors humming with increased activity, projected their analysis. Your ship's acoustic matrix, it's not generating sound waves in the traditional sense. It's creating harmonic patterns in the quantum foam itself. "Exactly," Maya confirmed. "The Soundweaver doesn't fight against physics, it sings with it. Each frequency, each harmony, is a suggestion to reality about how it might like to behave. And reality listens." She brought up more detailed schematics of the acoustic drive. "Your ships force their way through space-time, using enormous amounts of energy to bend reality to your will. Ours finds the natural rhythms of the universe and amplifies them. It's the difference between breaking down a door and finding the key." The Confederation's chief scientist, a being of pure energy contained within a complex field matrix, moved forward to study the displays. "This is elegant," they admitted. We've become so focused on power, on control, that we forgot to listen to the universe itself. Maya nodded. That's humanity's greatest strength. We never stopped questioning, never stopped looking for new ways to understand reality. While you were perfecting your quantum drives, we were studying music theory. While you were building bigger weapons, we were learning about harmony and resonance. The display shifted to show the Soundweaver's defensive systems in action. Your weapons failed not because they weren't powerful enough, but because they were too rigid. They could only operate on the frequencies you understood. But sound is infinite. There are always more harmonics, more ways to interact with the quantum field. Admiral Hayes stepped forward. The Confederation has two choices now. You can continue to dismiss us as primitive, to cling to your understanding of physics as absolute truth. Or you can acknowledge that there might be things you haven't discovered yet, paths you haven't explored. The chamber was silent for a long moment before the High Council leader spoke. You understand what this means. Your discovery doesn't just change the balance of power. It changes everything we thought we knew about the universe. That's the point, Maya said softly. Knowledge isn't a destination, it's a journey. The moment you think you've learned everything there is to know, that's the moment you stop growing. She walked to the center of the chamber, where a small quantum field generator was displaying a model of standard Confederation propulsion technology. With a few gentle movements of her hands, she began to modify its output, introducing acoustic harmonics that made the quantum field dance in ways its creators had never imagined possible. Look, she said, as the field transformed into something new, something that combined the best aspects of both technologies. This is what happens when we stop thinking in terms of superiority and start thinking in terms of harmony. Your quantum manipulation is incredible. You've mastered it in ways we can barely comprehend, but combine it with our acoustic principles. The demonstration spoke for itself. The hybrid field was more stable, more efficient, and more elegant than either technology alone. It wasn't just a new way to travel through space. It was a new way to understand the universe itself. We're not here to replace your technology, Maya concluded, letting the demonstration fade away. We're here to show you that there's always more to learn, always new songs to discover. The universe is infinite, and so are the ways we can learn to dance with it. The Confederation representatives began to discuss among themselves, their previous dismissal of humanity replaced by a reluctant but growing respect. They had come expecting to put a primitive species in its place. Instead, they had been reminded of something they had forgotten long ago. The joy of discovery, the thrill of finding something truly new in a universe they thought they understood completely. As the debate continued, Maya smiled quietly to herself. The Soundweaver had done more than defend Earth. It had started a revolution in how the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy thought about physics itself. And this was just the beginning. After all, every good symphony needed multiple movements, a new harmony. 1 year after the Soundweaver's demonstration, the landscape of interstellar civilization had changed dramatically. The massive research facility that now orbited Earth's moon bore little resemblance to the former Confederation observation post. Where once stood a symbol of alien superiority, now floated a testament to cooperation, the first Joint Harmonic Institute. Maya stood at the facility's main viewport, watching as ships from dozens of civilizations moved through nearby space. Some still used traditional quantum drives, others had adopted pure acoustic propulsion, but the most interesting were the new hybrid vessels that combined both technologies in ways that would have seemed impossible just a year ago. The latest test results are in, Dr. Chen announced, joining her at the window. The Marian engineers finally managed to incorporate acoustic resonance into their bioorganic hulls. They're calling it the Living Symphony. Maya smiled, remembering how dismissive the Marian had been of primitive human concepts. Now their ships literally grew around acoustic resonators, creating vessels that were part spacecraft, part musical instrument, and part living organism. And the Arxian Mind Collective? She asked, though she could guess from the excited hum of quantum processors throughout the station. They've developed 17 new theoretical frameworks combining quantum mathematics with acoustic harmonics. They say understanding music has changed how they process reality itself. The facility shuddered slightly as a new ship docked, the latest prototype from the combined Human Confederation research team. Its hull rippled with patterns that were neither purely quantum nor purely acoustic, but something entirely new. The universe's own music made visible. Admiral Hayes appeared on the holoscreen, her image now projected from a ship halfway across the galaxy. Maya, you'll want to see this. We've just received data from the deep space expeditions. The hybrid drives are performing beyond all expectations. We're reaching parts of space we never thought accessible. The screen filled with images from these expeditions. Ships using the new technology weren't just traveling through space. They were harmonizing with it, finding natural pathways and resonances that made faster-than-light travel almost effortless. The Confederation's quantum scientists are still trying to explain how it all works, Dr. Chen said with a chuckle. They keep trying to fit it into their existing models. That's the beauty of it, Maya replied, watching as another hybrid ship phased into normal space, its passage marked by ripples of harmonic energy. It doesn't fit their models. It doesn't fit our old models either. We had to create something new together. She turned as a delegation of Confederation representatives entered the observation deck. They no longer carried themselves with their former arrogance. The past year had taught them the value of uncertainty, the power of asking questions rather than assuming answers. The High Council has approved the expansion of the Institute, announced the lead representative, their crystalline form shimming with what Maya had learned to recognize as excitement. They finally accepted that there may be other fundamental forces we haven't yet discovered, other songs we haven't yet heard. Maya corrected gently, using the terminology that had become common in the new field of harmonic physics. The universe is endless music. We're just learning to listen. She gestured to the latest arrival through the viewport, a massive research vessel jointly operated by 12 different species. Its hull was a masterpiece of hybrid technology, combining quantum fields, acoustic resonance, bioorganic components, and several other technologies that had emerged from their collaboration. A year ago, you were ready to shut down our research because it didn't fit your understanding of physics, she reminded them. Now look at us. We're discovering new principles almost daily. Every civilization brings its own perspective, its own way of hearing the universe's song. The main display activated, showing a real-time map of known space. Scattered throughout it were points of light representing the new hybrid ships, each one pushing the boundaries of what was possible. But more importantly, each point represented cooperation between species that had once seen each other as rivals or primitives. The Soundweaver wasn't just a ship, Maya continued, watching as new data streamed in from the exploration fleets. It was a wake-up call. It showed us all that no matter how advanced we think we are, there's always more to learn, always new harmonies to discover. Dr. Chen brought up the latest designs for the next generation of vessels, ships that would make the original Soundweaver look primitive by comparison. We're calling this the Symphony class, he explained. Each one is designed to be completely unique, able to find its own resonance with space-time. Like instruments in an orchestra, Maya added, each with its own voice, but all playing the same cosmic symphony. The Confederation representatives studied the designs with genuine enthusiasm. We've identified 372 potential applications for harmonic technology that we never considered before, one of them admitted. And those are just the ones we can understand with our current physics. Maya nodded, remembering how she had felt in her lab that first day, watching sound waves do the impossible. That's the real breakthrough, isn't it? Not the technology itself, but learning to accept that the impossible just means we haven't looked at it the right way yet. Through the viewport, Earth was visible as a blue jewel against the black of space. Around it, ships of all designs and origins moved in complex patterns that looked almost choreographed. A dance of civilizations' shared achievement. The universe's endless song had brought them together, teaching them all that the greatest discoveries come not from assuming superiority, but from being willing to listen to new ideas, new perspectives, new harmonies. As Maya watched, another hybrid ship began its departure sequence, its acoustic quantum drive creating ripples of visible harmony in the fabric of space-time. She smiled, knowing that somewhere out there, another impossible discovery was waiting to be made. After all, in an infinite universe, the music never really ends. It just keeps evolving, one surprising note at a time.